You're trudging through the icy wasteland of the Arctic when suddenly you spot a camel? And no, you're not tripping on acid. Believe it or not, camels once called the Arctic home. Wait, what? That's like finding a penguin in the Sahara or a polar bear in the Amazon. There's no way that's real. Well, let's wind the clock back about 3.5 million years. The world was a different place back then. The Arctic? It wasn't the barren ice sheet we know today. Nope, it was practically a camel's paradise. Well, if your idea of paradise includes frigid temperatures and months of darkness. But hey, it was good enough for them. And they actually thrived in it. These Arctic camels lived in Ellesmere Island, way up in the Canadian high Arctic. Today, it's a frozen wasteland that makes the North Pole look like a tropical getaway. We're talking temperatures that plummet beyond negative 40 degrees Celsius in winter, winds that could blow a penguin to Kansas, and a landscape so barren, it makes the moon look lush. But back in the day, it was the stomping ground of this incredible animal, Paracamelus, the OG Arctic camel. In 2006, a team of paleontologists were doing what paleontologists do, digging up old bones and getting way too excited about it. But this time, their excitement may have been justified, because what they found wasn't just any old fossil. It was the remains of a creature that would rewrite history books and make us question everything we thought we knew about camels. It was completely unexpected. These paleontologists were bundled up like Arctic explorers, carefully brushing away at the frozen ground. And then, bam! Out of nowhere, they uncover a leg bone. And this wasn't a typical animal leg bone that they would find up there. It was a leg bone that was unmistakably camel-like, yet found in a place where no camel should be. Can you picture their faces? The double takes, the "am I seeing this right?" moments, the excited chatter as they realize they've stumbled upon something extraordinary. It's like finding a surfboard in Antarctica. It just doesn't make sense, and it definitely doesn't sound right. Well, turns out they found the real OG camel, the Paracamelus, the camel that looked at the Arctic and said, yeah, I could make this work. This wasn't your average run-of-the-mill camel. Oh no, this bad boy was about 30% larger than today's camels. We're talking about the Hulk of the camel world here. If modern camels are the family sedan, Paracamelus was a monster truck with a hump. But size wasn't the only thing that set Paracamelus apart. This camel was built for the cold, like Usain Bolt is built for sprinting. And it had all the latest Ice Age fashion, a thick woolly coat that would make a mammoth jealous wide flat feet, perfect for traversing snow and icy, and probably a fatty hump that would make a grizzly bear green with envy. But why exactly were these camels living in the Arctic? Well, the Arctic of 3.5 million years ago wasn't the frozen wasteland we know today. It was more like a chilly forest. Imagine a landscape dotted with larch trees, dwarf birch, and mosses. Not exactly a tropical paradise, but to Paracamelus, it was home sweet home. But don't let the word forest fool you. This was still the Arctic, after all. Paracamelus had to deal with months of 24-hour darkness in the winter, followed by endless days of sunlight in the summer. It's like nature's most extreme mood swing, and this Arctic camel had front-row seats. Imagine having to navigate through a forest in complete darkness, or trying to get some sleep when the sun refuses to set. For Paracamelus, though, this was just another Tuesday. So, what was on the menu for our northern-dwelling camel? Well, Paracamelus wasn't exactly picky. It munched on whatever vegetation it could find. Leaves, twigs, shrubs. Basically, if it was green and grew in the Arctic, it was fair game. This flexible diet was key to surviving in an environment where food could be scarce. It's like being stuck in a supermarket where half the shelves are empty, and you have to make do with whatever's left. Paracamelus was the master of the Arctic buffet. But here's where things get really interesting. You see, Paracamelus wasn't just surviving in the Arctic, it was thriving. And in doing so, it was writing the first chapter in the epic saga of camel evolution. That's right, folks. Our Arctic friend here? It's the great-great-great. And let's add about 1 million more greats, grandfather of every camel alive today. From the two-humped Bactrian camels of Central Asia to the one-humped dromedaries of Africa and the Middle East. They all trace their family tree back to this Arctic pioneer. It's sort of like finding out your beach-loving cousin actually comes from a long line of polar explorers. This discovery completely flipped our understanding of camel evolution on its head. We used to think camels originated in North America and then spread to Asia and Africa. And while that's still partly true, we now know that their journey included a stopover in the Arctic. But wait, there's more. The discovery of Paracamelus didn't just rewrite camel history. It also gave us some mind-blowing insights into climate change. You see, the fact that camels were happily munching away in the Arctic 3.5 million years ago tells us something crucial about the climate back then. During this time, known as the mid-Pliocene warm period, global temperatures were about 2 to 3 degrees warmer than today. That might not sound like much, but it was enough to turn the Arctic into a forested landscape capable of supporting large mammals like our camel friend. Almost like the Earth cranked up the thermostat just a few notches, and suddenly the Arctic turned into camel heaven. However, here's where it gets a little bit scary. The mid-Pliocene is often used as an analog for future climate scenarios. In other words, the world Paracamelus lived in might be a preview of what's in store for us if current warming trends continue. So, who knows? Maybe Arctic camels aren't just a thing of the past, they could be a glimpse of the future too. Imagine a world where you visit the Arctic to ride a camel. It sounds crazy, but then again, so did the idea of an Arctic camel until we found Paracamelus. But the implications go beyond just camels. The presence of Paracamelus in the Arctic tells us about entire ecosystems that existed in a warmer world. It paints a picture of an Arctic teeming with life, from the plants that fed our camel friend to whatever predators might have seen it as a jumbo-sized snack. It's like a window into a lost world, one that could hold crucial clues for understanding how life adapts to changing climates. And speaking of adaptations, let's take a moment to appreciate just how versatile camels are. We tend to think of them as desert specialists, built for heat and sand. But Paracamelus shows us that the camel blueprint is incredibly flexible. From scorching deserts to frozen forests, camels have conquered it all. It's like they're the Swiss Army knives of the mammal world, adaptable to any environment. And this adaptability isn't just a cool evolutionary trick, it's a testament to the resilience of life itself. In a world that's facing rapid climate change, the story of Paracamelus reminds us that life finds a way. It adapts, it evolves, it survives. But let's not end on a downer. Instead, let's appreciate the sheer awesomeness of Paracamelus. This is a creature that looked at one of the harshest environments on Earth and said, "Challenge accepted." It not only survived, but thrived, becoming the ancestor of all modern camels, and leaving us with a mystery that took millions of years to unravel. So the next time you see a camel, whether it's in a zoo, a desert, or your neighbor's questionably legal exotic pet collection, give it a nod of respect, because you're not just looking at a humpy, grumpy ship of the desert. You're looking at the descendant of an Arctic conqueror, a creature that rewrote the rules of where camels could live and thrive. And so now you know, camels actually did live in the desert. Insanely crazy to think about how many more cool, undiscovered surprises are still hidden out there in the world. And who knows, maybe millions of years from now, some future scientist will be digging up our bones and wondering how on earth humans ever survived in a world without Arctic camels. Now, wouldn't that be a twist?